The unsurpassed, profound, and wondrous Dharma is rarely met with even in 100,000 million kalpas. Now we can see and hear it, accept and maintain it. May we unfold the meaning of the Tathagata's truth. I'll start us out by introducing us to a Chinese phrase that I'm starting to learn myself, so I need the reference here. Give it the Chinese. So in Japanese, the pronunciation here is Shinshi Keishu. Shin Shi Keishu. So that's what I want to talk about this afternoon. Shin Shi Keishu. Okay. So this is the beginning of Sesshin. We're just starting out. We begin on Friday and we end on Sunday. Oftentimes we begin something with a new sense of enthusiasm, and then what happens? It wears out, doesn't it? That enthusiasm wears out. We get all kinds of obstacles. All kinds of obstacles enter the path after we begin something with enthusiasm. It happens to all of us. The obstacles could be many. Just some common ones for Sesshin might be physical pain, emotional pain. Maybe there's other obligations that you have left kind of dangling, haven't taken care of in some way. However, how we begin something is going to dictate how we end it. How we begin it is going to give us an insight into how we ended it. So if we want to know what's going to happen with our Sesshin, it doesn't pay to wait. It pays us to look at what we're doing right now. Not only what we're doing, but how we're doing it. If you change the way that you're doing the beginning, it's going to change the outcome. Right. What you do right now will determine your future. So the question is, how do we begin this? How are we going to begin this? In particular, how are we going to begin this Sesshin? But this is applicable to our life in general into smaller things that we're doing in particular. So I want to give some explanation for these characters that I'm learning here. The second and fourth one, this has to do with beginning. And this one has to do with ending. The end, yeah. So these two have, by themselves, they have particular meanings. Some possibilities for this one. Now again, this is not, when you study the little I know of Chinese is that when you study the characters separately, they mean something, and when you put them together, they might mean something else. So we have to be careful when we look at just one character by itself. We're going to eventually put them all together here. So the first one means something like to be careful, to be discreet, to refrain from overdoing. And this, the third one has to do with showing respect. Another possibility here is to revere or to honor. I think those are all helpful ways to think about how we begin or end something. Being careful, especially this one, refraining from overdoing. There's a real, when we do things, especially when we start out, we might have a lot of enthusiasm for doing it, and then, but we overdo it, and then we can't complete it. We can't complete whatever it is that we're doing. So, that can give us some, just little suggestions here. If we were to tie these four together, it might mean something like, maybe be careful in the beginning, show respect in the end. But when I consulted one of my teachers, she said, usually these two by themselves mean something different. But when you put it together in this phrase, it has the sense of doing something with attention from the beginning to the end. So following through on whatever it is that you're doing. To concentrate from the beginning to the end. So this could apply very well to our time together here and in the individual, the detailed things that we're doing. Each of you have some kind of job to do, right? Maybe it's when we're sitting on the cushion, following our breath, if that's your practice, to notice the entire length of your inhale and exhale. But usually what we do is when we're following our breath, we might notice the inhale for about a half a second, and then so how do we kind of, and that's okay. That's okay. There's no shame in losing concentration. This phrase is just kind of a reminder. It's a gentle reminder to start and end something with a sense of completeness or fullness or full attention. We're going to find that we wax and wane in our attention through Sesshin. Sometimes it's going to be strong, other times it's going to not be so strong. But again, coming back to this and learning to kind of temper the attention that we give to something. Because if we're overly enthusiastic, if we do something if we overdo it, it's going to have negative consequences towards the end. So we want to keep the end in mind. How we start something out is going to determine how we conclude something. So that's why I mentioned earlier that the beginning, it's important to find ways to soften our body intentionally, consciously, because we all have a lot of energy going into something, and so we want to temper down that enthusiasm a little bit at the beginning, and just kind of moderate it or self-regulate, right? So take some of the excitement out of it. This phrase reminds me of a teaching that my teacher gave me on a few occasions that I found very helpful, very, very practical. She would tell me, usually when she was giving me some kind of admonishment about how I was doing something, she would say, Daishin, every action has 3 parts to it. There's a beginning, there's a middle, and there's an end. This is just basic reality, right? Every action that we do has a beginning. There's a preparation period. If you're going to do something, you have to prepare for it. All of us had to prepare in order to come to Sesshin. We had to take care of some part of our life in order to be doing this. If you're cooking in the kitchen, if you want to eat something, if you want to eat a meal, well, you have to get it. You have to prepare it. You've got to take out the knives, the cutting boards, the food that you're going to eat. There's a preparation period. You've got to chop it up. Then there is the doing of it, where you're actually doing what you set out to do. So here we are. We're doing Sesshin. We did the preparation for it. We put work into preparing, and now we're in the doing phase. Now we're doing it. But as I'm saying that, the beginning is always there too. And we can continually modify the beginning, even in the middle, even in the second period. So there's the doing. There's the eating of the meal, for example. There's the middle of the breath, where we're pausing or we're exhaling. And then there is the end. And the end is really really important. That has to do with the cleanup. It's the part that nobody likes. We do something and then we think it's over, but we often miss the cleanup. And this is where my teacher would scold me. You got to do the cleanup. You got to put effort into the finishing, into the completion. So when Sesshin is ending, we want to make sure that everything is put back the way we started. When we're cooking in the kitchen, we want to make sure at the end of the meal that everything is completely cleaned up and put away. There's nothing left remaining. At the end of the day, we want to make sure everything is in order, the zendo is in order. And at the end of Sesshin, we want to make sure things are put back. So in every activity, there's a beginning, there's a doing phase, there's a preparation, there's a doing, and then there's a completion or a cleanup. What activity that we do that you can think of doesn't have that? You could think of it's easier to think about these 3 stages in kind of smaller activities that have a definite, clear beginning and a clear ending. Sesshin has a clear beginning and a clear ending. Right? But then there's activities that don't have a clear ending, like raising a family doesn't have a clear ending. Right. It doesn't have a clear beginning either. It's just like you're thrown into it in some way, maybe. But still there, I think this applies. You can change at any moment. Every moment is the beginning. You don't have to go back. You don't have to go back to the beginning. The beginning is always in the present moment, and the ending is always in the present moment. Sesshin is a kind of a mirror for our life in general. So if we can't see the overall picture of our life, No problem. You'll find it. You'll find a mirror in Sesshin of how you do one thing is how you do everything. So the gift of the Sesshin is to see what is your, how do you enter something? How do you enter anything? How you enter Sesshin is how you enter anything. And how you do something, how our minds change, and then how we end. Here's another point is that it's so important to develop the confidence. We need to have self-confidence to do any activity. And if you feel you're lacking it, that's okay. The beginning is always right now. You can always change. You can always change this moment. You can always change the outcome. So the development of confidence in ourselves, that confidence also waxes and wanes. We make mistakes, we screw up, and that's okay. That's part of the practice. We'll find ourselves messing up. And we just get back on the horse. It's fall down 7 times, get up 8. That's the teaching of Bodhidharma. It's a hard one. Fall down 7 times, get up 8. You can always start over. We can always start over. Any moment is an opportunity to start over. That's what my teacher would tell the men in prison when we went into the Lewisburg Federal Penitentiary. She said, this moment now, you've got a sentence for some of the guys there were in there for life, but you could always start right now. This moment is the moment that counts. Whatever you've done in the past, that can change. We can restart in this moment. So a question to ask ourselves here is how do we want to live our life? Well, we can see already how we're living our life, and we can reflect on that. Is there ways I can improve it? Because you can change in this moment. So let's go back to Sesshin. Some suggestions here to really see the mirror, to look at yourself in the mirror, is consider doing 3 things. One is to do one thing at a time. Just do one thing at a time. I don't know about you, but I'm often multitasking, and it just, the mind is going to many places at once. Even while I'm sitting, I'm thinking, oh, got to do this, got to do that. But try to do one thing at a time. That's number one. And the second thing is, whatever you're doing, to do it thoroughly. Whatever we're doing, do it completely and thoroughly. So when we're sitting Zazen, this is an excellent opportunity because we're just sitting, right? It's the only thing we're doing. So see if you can do the sitting thoroughly. Now we're going to come up with an obstacle here in sitting, because if you're not aware of your concentration level and you want to do something thoroughly, you might just continue to concentrate really strongly, and that's not going to be effective for us to get us, to towards the end. We need to be careful, cautious about how much concentration we put into this one activity of shikantaza. How much energy do we want to put into it, especially at the beginning? Can we lighten it up a little bit? Can we just hands off a little bit? And actually, that's really the key of shikantaza. It's not a doing. We want to release the doing of it more and more and more. Dilute the doing. Dilute the effort that we put into it, but maintain awareness. That's the key. Is just just a very, very light touch. Very, very light touch with this practice. You don't have to put effort into it. The less effort you put into it, the better. There's I wish I had that, there is a chapter of the Tao Te Ching that says something about make your effort as strong as a baby, or something like that, or as become as weak as a baby, something like that. I can't remember the specific chapter in the Tao Te Ching, but it has this sense of lessening effort. And this is I think it's very appropriate for us in doing Zazen prolonged periods, one after the other. We want to really lessen the effort and the energy we put into it. Because the Zazen does itself. And when we do Sesshin, we want to allow Zazen to do itself, not us doing Zazen. Let Zazen do you. That's a kind of reversing of our typical way of seeing the world. The typical way of seeing the world is that here I am, and there's the world outside, and we make this dualistic kind of approach with the world, and sometimes we even fight the world. It's me against the world kind of thinking. Or I must do X, Y, and Z. Maybe even if we're not fighting, it's me doing X, Y, and Z. And with Sesshin, we're just, and that's okay, we need to do that. There's no way we can do this without doing that. So if we want to have a better quality of I am going to do X, Y, and Z, then we need to work on our quality of non-doing. So in Sesshin, we're doing the reverse. We're allowing shikantaza to take the lead. You don't have to put your effort into the sitting. You should remove the effort. Right? It's kind of like, all day long, it seems we're told to put more effort into something. If you want to do a good job, you got to put more effort into it. So this is a maybe countercultural message. Right? Put less effort into what you're doing, and the results will be that your quality of doing will improve. Right? Sometimes we have to let go of the effort in order to put full effort into something. Right? In order to inhale, we have to exhale. Right? In order to hold on, we have to let go. It's this duality that we live in. Yet we often forget that in certain parts of our life. Our breath doesn't forget to do what it needs to do. It knows. But we forget. We forget in our activities, in our relationships, right? Everything is there's this holding on and then releasing, holding on, releasing. This is how we learn how to fly, metaphorically speaking, right? In order to fly, you got the wings go up, and then they got to come down, and then there's a gliding period, right? And our life can reflect that. Sometimes we get glimpses of that, but here we're getting the reminder. Sesshin is a reminder. So here's another suggestion, maintain your comportment. Your comportment is everything, your physical comportment. So when we're sitting Zazen, it's upright sitting. Of course, you're always welcome to, if your back is giving you a lot of pain, that might be a time also to let go of that. We don't want to be too rigid in our sitting. But comportment isn't just Zazen sitting, it's this cosmic mudra, right? Thumb tips lightly touching, chin slightly tucked, the eyes lowered, soft focus through the eyes. My shoulders soft. Right, that's a comportment. In Kinhin, we make a fist around the left thumb, hands over top, right thumb between the left thumb and forefinger, placed at our solar plexus, elbows a little away from the body. In Gasho, we place the palms together, and here's the form. Fist distance away from the tip of the nose. The tips of the fingers are in alignment with the bottom edge of the nose. These are the forms. This is how we comport ourselves. We don't want to be rigid about these kinds of things, though. It should be kind of, again, this letting go of the rigidity to it. And of course, as the needs arise, as you see needs come up for you, because there's stuff we're doing, it's on an unconscious level almost. Or maybe it is an unconscious, I think how we comport ourselves, how we do sitting, there's going to be an unconscious things arise, and all of a sudden we find ourselves holding on really tight with the intention of letting go. We're just holding on really tight. And then things come up for us. So when you become aware of things, it's okay to communicate them. Right? We have Dokusan, we can meet in the Dokusan room, and it can be very helpful, just even if you don't know what you want to say, but just to share, just to say something. What's going on for you? Because we're all in this together. We're all in this together, and don't think that what your experience is an isolated event. All right. Thank you. All right. Now we'll do the dedication. It's me, this merit. I'm not sure what page that's on. Maybe around there. You'll get it. It's a short one. We can do it together. All right. May this merit extend universally to all, so that we, together with all beings, realize the Buddha way.